Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us your highlights from Young Pueblos later, and what really jumped out was this core promise.
Yeah, it's about personal healing, sure, but it doesn't just stop there, does it?
Exactly. It talks about how that inner work actually ripples outward, how it shapes the world around us.
Right. So our mission today is basically to pull out the key insights for you.
Think of it as the quick guide to Pueblo's own story and his big ideas, radical honesty, letting go, that kind of stuff.
And hopefully, without it feeling too dense or overwhelming.
We want to connect those dots for you, inner well-being and the bigger picture he's painting.
And it's interesting, right from the start, the weight these ideas have. You look at the endorsements. Nender Glover Tawwab, Jack Kornfield.
David Simus, too. They all highlight that same focus, don't they?
Totally. This idea of inner healing leading to, well, a positive impact, dual transformation.
And the range of topics is pretty vast. His story, habit building, self-love.
Dealing with change, relationships, even like societal stuff. It signals a really comprehensive approach.
Yeah, not just quick fixes. It's about getting to the roots.
Understanding the roots, yeah, and figuring out how to make lasting change.
Okay, so let's start where he starts, his own story.
Yeah.
He talks about this really intense moment back in 2011, summer of 2011. He was 23.
Right, the drug use incident, where he thought he was having a heart attack.
Yeah, imagine that. At 23. That kind of shock.
Sounds absolutely terrifying. A real wake-up call.
He mentions lying on the floor, this wave of fear and regret.
And just realizing how far he felt he'd strayed from his potential.
And he's really open about using drugs to sort of avoid inner sadness.
Which is relatable, isn't it?
No.
That temptation to numb out instead of facing what's inside.
Definitely. And it wasn't just his own stuff either. He reflects a lot on his parents.
Their journey, yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from Ecuador to Boston. The bravery, the sacrifices.
He talks about the intense pressure of poverty they faced. You can feel how that shaped him.
Absolutely. His mom cleaning houses, his dad in a supermarket. Just the sheer effort under that financial strain.
It gives you context for his own struggles, maybe that feeling of needing an escape he mentioned.
It really does. And then comes that turning point.
The decision, after that scare, he gathers up the painkillers.
And just throws them away. Makes this commitment.
To stop numbing himself. To start, as he puts it, that long walk back to a better life, choosing radical honesty.
That sounds like immense courage right there. A huge pivot.
It really does.
Yeah.
Discarding the escape route, choosing to face it all.
That's the start, isn't it? The beginning of his whole healing path. He didn't have the answers then.
But he had that key insight. The only way was through. Genuine self-awareness.
Acknowledging the real feelings, not running anymore.
So, okay, building on that awakening, he starts laying out these, core principles for healing.
Yeah, the pillars. And the first one is radical honesty.
Now, this isn't about telling everyone every little thing, is it?
Yes.
It feels more internal.
Exactly. Not broadcasting your life story. It's the bedrock of self-awareness.
So, turning towards the thoughts, the emotions you usually push away.
Challenging that avoidance. And really examining the lies we tell ourselves. The stories.
To get to the truth underneath.
Right. And the focus is always on that relationship with yourself. In any situation.
Alone or with others. It's about staying connected to your own inner truth. Calmly, consistently.
Which sounds like it could be, well, both freeing and pretty uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, I bet.
It takes courage, but also compassion,
Yeah.
He points out that if we keep avoiding it, things just get tangled inside. Hard to figure out.
And relationships suffer too, right? If you're disconnected from yourself.
Deep connection isn't really possible then, no. So radical honesty, he suggests, paves the way for inner peace, more authentic relationships.
Like an internal truth serum, you said. Uncomfortable first, but gets to the root.
Exactly. Fastest way to diagnose and heal that inner turmoil, those relationship knots.
He also mentions inward curiosity as a tool for this.
Yeah, to support the honesty. Help streamline things, release that baggage.
So approaching yourself like maybe a gentle detective, not with judgment.
That's a great way to put it. That shift from criticism to curiosity is key. Explore without defensiveness.
Makes it easier to see the patterns, the motivations, leads to real healing.
And it seems logical then that from this honesty, the next pillar emerges.
Right. Positive habit building.
If you're honest about what's holding you back, limiting your happiness,
then you'd naturally want to build habits that actually help.
That's the progression. The honesty gives you the motivation, the clarity to start building those supportive habits intentionally.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Then the third pillar, self-acceptance and self-love. This feels fundamental.
Absolutely. A core piece of any real healing.
He describes it as like a total embrace of who you are, imperfections and all.
But crucially, while still seeing room for growth, for letting go of what doesn't serve you,
It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
very. Nourishing yourself mind, body, spirit without getting arrogant or self-centered.
Moving beyond feeling less than, but also not feeling better than. Humility.
Exactly. And his definition of self-love is really powerful. Doing what you need to do to know and heal yourself.
It's active.
Very active. And he brings it back to those 3 pillars we talked about.
Radical honesty, positive habits, and this unconditional self-acceptance.
Yeah, they're not separate ideas. They're all interconnected, part of the same thing.
He sees self-love as this dynamic energy driving our evolution.
Pretty much. The vehicle for inner exploration helps our history, our past, become clearer.
And understanding ourselves leads to more compassion for ourselves and others.
Right, because when you really get your own struggles, you can empathize better with others. He quotes Thich Nhat Hanh there.
Understanding is the ground of love. That's powerful.
It really lands the point. And this self-love isn't just inward-looking.
No, how so?
Well, as it deepens, he says our love for others expands too, into a wise and balanced love.
Which involves self-care, taking care of yourself so you can support others.
Exactly. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. And ultimately, this mature self-love is the foundation for unconditional love for others.
He really ties self-love and healing together tightly.
Inextricably linked. Activate self-love, you get a clearer picture of your mind. One wanes, the other's affected.
Nurture both, and that's where real transformation happens.
Precisely. Which leads us right into the next big piece.
The necessity of letting go.
Yeah. He calls it a profound acceptance of the present moment, releasing that desire for things to be different.
Which can feel almost impossible sometimes, especially when things are really tough.
Oh, absolutely. It's a skill, requires constant practice. It's not a one-off thing.
It's a gradual journey, training yourself not to live in the past.
Exactly. Consciously setting down that emotional baggage. And he reassures us, old patterns might pop up again.
That happens.
But if you keep choosing new behaviors, those old patterns lose their grip over time. They get weaker.
He also points out how we tend to blame everything external for our stress.
Right, but he emphasizes looking inward, paying attention to our own minds, our patterns.
Because understanding our internal landscape is key to handling the external stuff.
Totally. External things happen, sure, but our perception, our reaction, that starts inside.
So it's about managing reactions.
Yeah.
Not suppressing feelings, but observing them.
Yes, exactly. Observing with some detachment, not getting swept away. That ability to observe, he says, is crucial.
It gives you more options than just repeating old patterns. Awareness creates choice.
Awareness is transformative, yeah. Which ties into his next point about observing emotion.
Embracing change. Impermanence.
He puts it bluntly. Our relationship to change basically defines our peace of mind.
Because change isn't just occasional, it's everything.
It's a fundamental force everywhere. All the time. Even difficult emotions, they feel permanent, but they're not.
Everything arises and passes away.
Everything. The people we love, the things we cherish, they exist because of change. Seeing that, really getting that.
Washes away attachment. Makes room for loving presence.
That's the idea. It loosens that tight grip.
And so much of our tension comes from wanting the good stuff to just stay the same forever, which it can't.
Impossible desire, yeah. So he encourages appreciating the flow, the beginnings and endings.
Seeing impermanence as a key life lesson. Resisting change is where the sorrow comes from.
He even shares how he used to chase pleasure, right? To avoid discomfort.
Yeah, seeking that false sanctuary.
Only to feel worse when it faded. He realized resisting change, trying to avoid any mental discomfort, was actually causing more suffering.
So embracing impermanence could have saved him a lot of pain.
That's what he suggests. And understanding impermanence leads straight into
Understanding and releasing attachment.
which he says is born from craving, that intense wanting things to be a certain way.
And the pain comes when those cravings aren't met or things change.
Exactly. When reality clashes with the craving.
Yeah.
And the mind is always creating these images, these
And
narratives.
pulling us away from the present.
Right. And we get attached not just to things we want, but also things we don't want, aversion.
Wait, attached to things we dislike. How does that work?
Think about how much mental energy you spend resisting something you hate. That's a form of attachment too. It holds you.
Okay. And attachment doesn't actually bring security, even though it feels like it might.
It's an illusion, he argues. Real security comes from embracing impermanence.
Like holding on to that broken toy example you mentioned, fear of letting go keeps you stuck.
Exactly. He says some dissatisfaction is just part of reality. The way through isn't avoiding it, but tackling the roots. Ignorance, craving, aversion.
So letting go of attachment is the only real path to more harmony, more peace.
That's his firm assertion. And it applies to wanting others to think like us, too.
Oh, right. Trying to control how others see things.
Futile, he says. Better to decenter yourself. Live your truth without forcing it on others. Find that balance.
And letting go isn't quick. It's a long process. Rewiring the brain. Patience required.
Definitely. And the goal isn't to erase emotions. It's to change your relationship with them.
Which sharpens the mind, cleans up perception, improves decisions.
That's the outcome he describes. A clearer, more discerning mind.
Okay, so if letting go is crucial, how do we actually do it? Which brings us to finding your practice.
Right. And here he shares his own experience with Vipassana meditation.
And how much it impacted his own liberation, his healing.
He contrasts it with his earlier work, community organizing. Important work, he says, but it didn't heal the inner sadness, the anxiety.
Meditation gave him that inner health, that lightness, to complement the external focus.
Exactly. And he even hints that if more people did this inner work, it could lead to more global well-being.
But he also makes the point that it's not one size fits all, right? What worked for him might not work for someone else.
Crucial point. Our conditioning, our experiences are unique, so you need to find what resonates with you.
Challenging enough to grow, but not so overwhelming you give up.
And he notes how much more accessible these practices are now. Therapy, meditation, etc. Less stigma, too.
So it's a good time to explore.
Definitely. And he really stresses intuition as your main guide here.
That quiet knowing in your body, not the loud voice of craving or fear.
Precisely. And also asking for help, seeing a therapist or guide, that's strength, not weakness.
Internal fortitude, he calls it.
Yeah. So lasting change starts with letting go, finding your practice, reclaiming your power from old habits.
This whole inward journey seems to challenge some basic assumptions we have, like the illusion of a fixed self.
Right. He pushes back hard on the idea that humans are just inherently selfish.
That greed is our default setting.
He argues that's a superficial view, kind of defeatist too, suggesting we're just flawed from the start.
But he acknowledges craving and aversion are powerful motivators.
Oh, for sure. But they're not the whole story. He sees things like greed, fear, hate as conditioned habits, learned.
And if they're learned,
They can be unlearned, transformed. That's the hopeful part.
he suggests beneath all that messy conditioning, there's this reservoir of loving clarity.
Waiting to be accessed. Through letting go, through healing. The path isn't a mystery anymore, he says.
What's needed is finding the practices that work for you specifically.
Exactly. Because happiness isn't luck. It takes intentional action. Healing, letting go, being present.
And as you heal, old goals might drop away. Things that weren't really authentic.
Yeah, replaced by more creative, service-oriented pursuits. Things aligned with your deeper values.
Accessing that true human nature feels like heightened intelligence, our natural state.
That's how he describes it. And he warns against always rejecting difficult feeling.
Because that just hardens them, pushes you further away from yourself.
Right. Avoidance widens the distance.
So this inner work, facing conditioning, building self-awareness, that leads to emotional maturity.
Which he describes as being able to ride life's ups and downs without getting totally tossed around. More acceptance of change, more gratitude.
And our emotional history, family, society experiences creates conditioning that affects how we see and react to everything.
Deeply ingrained stuff. Healing is about addressing that heavy load, that conditioning that clouds the mind.
Understanding your own history unlocks those rigid reactions, creates space.
Space to pause, to choose an intentional response instead of just a blind reaction.
Two aspects of maturity then are self-awareness, non-reaction.
Patience, compassion, commitment to growth, better communication.
And the opposite is avoidance, using others, chasing pleasure.
Yeah, he sees that as fundamentally hindering maturity.
Deeper self-awareness leads to richer connections, focusing on needs over cravings.
And simpler decision-making, too. Plus, humility. Admitting you need to grow, questioning your own judgments.
Maintaining peace during disagreements. That sounds like a high bar.
It is, but it's the goal. And again, intuition is key, that calm compass guiding you.
Even when it leads you out of your comfort zone, like his move to NYC, pursuing writing.
Those were guided by intuition, he says. And challenges aren't roadblocks, they're fuel.
They show you where you've grown and where you still need to develop.
Exactly. And focusing on your inner perception and reactions is more effective long term than trying to control everything outside.
So as emotional maturity grows, it naturally changes our relationships.
Our self-awareness sets the tone for our partnerships, he argues.
And he distinguishes love from attachment again here. Love feeds connection.
While attachment dominates unhealthy codependent connections.
Heartbreak, he suggests, actually points back to the value of self-love.
Miranda's that wholeness comes from within, not from someone else.
So after a breakup, it's about accepting hard truths about your part in it and seeking partners who are also mature and willing to grow.
That's the ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
Healthy relationships need mutual understanding, preferences, emotional history, clear communication.
Conflict isn't failure, but an opportunity for deeper understanding.
If handled right, yes. It's not about winning, it's about mutual respect and understanding.
Support, communication, flexibility, those are critical.
Absolutely. And he talks beautifully about friendships, too.
What makes a good friendship, according to him?
Laughter, honesty, support, vulnerability, mutual growth. Real friends give honest feedback, support your transformation.
They connect on values, shared history.
Deep connections, and even if they don't last forever, their impact can be profound.
Okay, but this whole journey isn't smooth. So, measuring progress and navigating challenges. How do we handle the rough patches?
First off, don't beat yourself up. Avoid harsh self-judgment when things are tough.
Focus on how your self-awareness is still sharpening, even then.
Exactly. Even just recognizing you're in a down moment is progress. It's a signal for patience, self-compassion.
He compares healing to cleaning a messy room. At first, you just see more mess.
Yeah, the patterns of anguish become clearer initially, and agitation feeds itself through attachment, resistance.
So better to just be with the agitation, observe it, don't add to it.
That's the advice. And connect with others on the path. Support is huge.
Remember, healing isn't linear. Ups and downs are normal.
What matters is that honest, compassionate relationship with the present moment, whatever it holds.
Letting go of the old you is tough, but necessary.
Yeah, even our attachment to past hurts can hold us back if it becomes our whole identity.
Growth is creation and destruction. A new you is always forming.
So embrace the unknown. Be willing to let go of fixed ideas to make space for wisdom.
Perfection is toxic. Embrace change instead.
And respect the need for rest. Slow moments are okay. Go at your own pace.
Learn your triggers. Develop resources to navigate those emotional storms.
Become more skillful, more resilient over time.
And as these internal shifts happen, the idea is that internal changes ripple outward.
Connecting with your true nature leads to real-life changes. They multiply over time. Well-being becomes more dominant.
Releasing the old you allows for a more natural unfolding.
Yes, and that inner peace, that clarity, it sparks huge creativity, insightful thinking.
Being mindful in the present energizes you, opens you to inspiration.
And it directly impacts how you interact with the world. Clearer communication.
Healthier boundaries.
More intentional relationships. Boundaries aren't walls. They protect the new self you're building. They help you design your life intentionally.
More honesty and vulnerability deepen friendships.
Definitely. He shares that example of his relationship with his father changing as he changed, that ripple effect.
Being authentic might be confusing at first for others, but ultimately builds deeper connections.
Right. And compassion grows from understanding our shared struggles. He quotes Pema Chodron again.
Compassion is a relationship between equals.
Beautifully put. And he circles back to change, it underlies everything. Our existence is in flux.
Letting go of the rigid I, the ego, opens us to true strength. Love, compassion, joy, equanimity.
These qualities blossom, and understanding impermanence relieves so much stress.
So he then takes us even further, connecting individual healing to global transformation.
Making the case that our individual thoughts, words, actions create waves through humanity. It all adds up.
He sees the current rise in introspective work globally as really significant.
A positive trend, because healed individuals have more courage, more compassion to build a better world.
He talks about the survivalist mind, driven by craving and aversion, causing tension internally and externally.
And how ego creates friction, competition, hierarchies based on scarcity.
Unhealed pain, reactive patterns can totally derail efforts for positive change.
Absolutely. A better world needs healed people, healed leaders.
He has that phrase, heal human nature creates circles, advocating for more collaborative models.
Like cooperatives, worker-owned businesses, more equitable power, wealth distribution. voluntary participation, expanding opportunities for people to use their power.
Real change needs balance, compassion, moving away from extremes.
So tackling things like racism, patriarchy with compassion, aiming for equality without creating new unfairness,
Appreciating diverse views leads to better solutions.
requires rising above ego, thinking from compassion, active compassion, collective effort.
He mentions structural compassion too, designing systems that support well-being.
Yeah, building societal structures that inherently foster happiness and freedom, balancing individual liberty with our interconnectedness.
Recognizing shared experiences fosters empathy, the desire to reduce suffering.
He really sees individual healing as a game changer for us and for the world, unlocking potential, fostering peace.
Inner work and outer work have to happen together.
They're two sides of the same coin,
He wraps it all up by embracing a new era, a hopeful vision.
where individual awakening leads to collective awakening.
The goal isn't perfection, but becoming lighter. The past reminds us we can overcome.
Personal growth and positive impact can happen together. Calmer, more aware minds lead to skillful action, creativity.
Don't abandon healing when times get tough. Wisdom comes from growth.
Decreasing your inner tension decreases harm in the world. Increasing inner peace adds to global peace. It's that direct.
Dream big, act on that new love for the world.
Commitment to inner work leads to more emotionally mature people, wider compassion.
Love is the strongest building material for a better world.
Strive for less suffering. See humanity as family. Implement love, empowerment, freedom, understanding, equality, nourishment into our structures.
Keep healing. Keep coming together to design a better world. And crucially,
Never dehumanize others. Expand your identity to include everyone. Move beyond division.
committing to the inward journey with awareness and compassion. That's the path.
Leads to less hurt, a lighter, happier existence for everyone.
Ultimately, it's a message of profound hope, isn't it? And interconnection.
Yeah, individual healing isn't selfish. It's presented as a vital contribution to our collective well-being, to creating a better future.
So for you, the learner, hopefully you've got a good condensed grasp now of young Pueblo's core ideas in lighter.
Remember that power of radical honesty with yourself, the gradual path of letting go.
The reality of constant change. And self-love is that essential foundation for you and for your relationships.
And that link between your healing and a more compassionate world, that's a really powerful takeaway.
So maybe some food for thought. Which of these ideas really clicks with you right now? Where are you in your own journey?
Yeah, what's one small thing, maybe even tiny, you could do today? A little more self-awareness, a bit more self-acceptance.
And just reflecting on how your own healing, step by step, might actually contribute to more connection, more empathy out there in the world.
Because this deep dive, it's really just scratching the surface, isn't it?
Definitely. We'd encourage you to explore lighter yourself. Or look into practices like meditation, mindfulness, whatever feels right for you. Follow your intuition.
Because the path to a lighter, more fulfilling life is personal. But the more you understand yourself,
The bigger your positive impact can be, inside and out.